Well, good morning, good morning. It is Thursday. Here we are for another episode of Parking Lot Wisdom on the Energy of the Untamed Heart podcast. I am your host, Mielle Fox, and gosh, what a beautiful morning. I wish you guys could actually see where I am. The sun has come up over the horizon, for which I am so grateful because, 2 weeks ago we didn't have a sunrise by the time I got to Parking Lot Wisdom. So I'm just grateful that as we move towards spring that it's the early indicators of shift and change. And so that made me think about, gosh, what do I want to bring forward this week for folks on the podcast? And so initially I was going to kind of tell you about, all the things that happened last week and what's coming up next week, but I'm going to save that towards the end here. And I just wanted to talk about how when we get so busy and we put so many things in our schedule and so many things on our plate and we get lost within our heads about what we are thinking about and the checklist and the to-dos and all the things, that we lose sight of the fact that we are an integral component of everything around us, because everything's all interconnected, of course, as we all know. Everything's energy, everything's interconnected. We're humans on planet Earth, we're having an experience, and we're not just some separate little blob of humanness and cellular identification clumped on the earth to go through our day. We are creatures of nature. We do follow cycles just like everything else in nature. So depending on where you live, your seasonal cycles may be a little bit different than mine. So I'm just going to share mine here in the Northeast. We absolutely, where I live, we don't have 4 seasons. We actually have 5 seasons. That's our running joke here. We have winter, spring, summer, and fall, but we also have in-between seasons like mud season and stick season, which is, those of us who live in the Northeast, we kind of crack up because they're really seasons for us. But what's my point? My point is, if you look at what a season offers you, it offers an opportunity for something to be occurring. Let's just take nature let's not talk people here. Let's just take nature. In the wintertime, everything is kind of put to rest. The leaves fall off the trees. They're not dead, they're resting. Because what happens in the spring, all of a sudden you see the buds sprout out on the branches that have been completely bare for 3 or 4 or 5 or up here 6 months. And the tree comes back into full vibrancy and life. But you look at it in the dead of winter and you're like, oh my goodness, what's holding that thing together? Well, what is holding that thing together? It is at rest. It is in a state of quietness where there's a lot happening for that tree, let's say, underneath the ground. It has a solid root system. It's connected to earth. But it is in a state of recovery, if you want to call it that, in preparation, so to speak, for the upcoming season, which is what? Is spring. What do we see in early spring? You see, the buds starting to pop out on the branches, and then as the temperature warms and the sun is higher in the sky, you see those buds, evolve and sprout into typically leaves prior to buds of flowers and that sort of thing. Then what happens after that is, we all get so excited when we go into late spring and early summer. We see not just the spriglets of the trees or the plants or the bulbs coming up through the ground with the leaves and the stalks, but we start to see the buds of the flowers or the buds of the fruit that's going to come forward in the summer months. And then through the summer, we see that really expand and become much more abundant, which leads us towards the season at the end of summer, which is what we refer to as fall. What's happening in the fall? Things are being harvested. The fruits of the vegetables or the whatever of the summer growth are being harvested. And for those of us who live in this part of the country, we do something called put your garden to bed, which means that we help the garden to be fallowed so that it's ready for the following springtime when it will start all over again. So what does this have to do with anything? I know a lot of you are like, well, duh, Mielle, duh. Yeah, I get it. So this has a lot to do with us as humans because, quite frankly, as a piece of nature, as a component of our completely integrated system here on Earth, we also have cycles. We have lots of cycles. We have life cycles. We have repetitive cycles. We have cycles that, if anybody's geeky and wants to know, are coded numerologically by your birth and can actually be literally forecasted or predicted about what kinds of energies and influences will occur through certain cycles of your life. But quite frankly, think of like a giant spiral, right? A huge spiral. And as you go through these concentric expanding circles in the spiral, these are new cycles. And we go through a series of repetitive cycles in our lifetime. And these cycles include all of the components that I just talked about with the example of the tree or the vegetable garden or the flower garden, where there's a time that seeds and ideas are planted. There's a time where those things are expanded and there's growth and expression. There's a time where the fruits of the labor are harvested. And there's a time to rest. There's a time for the care that is needed to prepare oneself for the next upcoming season. And I think where we as humans get a little off the track is that we lose sight of the fact that we are cyclical creatures and we try to bull and jam through all the seasons. Like, we don't take the rest. We don't acknowledge the need to slow down. We don't acknowledge the need to stay grounded and to nurture ourselves so that we can be more successful, more productive, more fruitful, more engaging, more expressive, whatever phrase you want to put to that. We sort of, think that we're not part of the cog in the wheel and all the things. So all I want to say here this morning on Parking Lot Wisdom is try to get out of your head, if you can, and sink into who you really are in your innermost being. And when your body says, hey man, I'm a little on the tired and I could use a little break and I need some rest, instead of trying to force and bull and jam and outthink it and analyze it and, find the cure to it, listen to what your body's asking of you and say, what is it that you need? And when you hear the word rest, hello, do the thing. Love yourself enough to give yourself the rest that you need so that you can be in a much more expansive and better capacity for the expression to create the life that you're looking to create. Those are the whispers of your soul, the whispers of your heart talking to you. And it's time to listen. It's just time to listen. So let me wrap this up because, of course, not only is it Parking Lot Wisdom, but I'm at work and I'm late. So time for me to go. But I want to remind everybody, the last Wednesday of February, there will be the free virtual meetup called Unconditionally You. You are welcome to sign up for that if you want an email reminder. It also will be streamed into my private Facebook group called Fox Den Energetics. So if you want in on that, just go there and ask for the invite. Happy to add you. I'm upgrading my website, also called Fox Den Energetics, and you can find a lot of supportive information over there. And of course, please subscribe here to the podcast so that you don't miss any episodes. Things are being released on Thursdays and once a week. So there's not too much. It's not overwhelmed, but you can keep up and stay tuned in for all the goodness. So with that, I'm going to sign off. I thank you so much for your support. I love you all and wishing you the best weekend. Take care.